Alright, hey guys, welcome back. This is kicking off this series here about DMR-PRS, quantified performance style matches there, kind of with a focus around gas guns. So one of the first things we wanted to start this off with was getting several of our takes on the minimum things you need to bring with you to get started with. So these opinions will vary. Some of us have more, some of us have less items that we would suggest, but this is my take. Anyway, I want to go ahead and get started with this, make it quick and simple. First thing you need to start with is a reliable gun. Okay, a reliable gun is also something you need to proof out. That is not a home build you finished the night before and it has 0 rounds through. Sure, you can go out there and hopefully have a successful time or bring out a brand new factory gun, but try to get a few rounds on it. Make sure the thing locks back on empty with the ammo you're going to be shooting, and make sure you don't see any inherent problems. Kind of look the rifle over before it's match day there. That goes into the next thing here. It's just as important to test your mags. Even if they came fresh out of the wrapper, doesn't mean they work. I've had some unfortunate luck with a few mags over the years. Test them out. Only put a few rounds in them. Make sure they don't puke out on empty. If you're using some older mags, make sure they feed correctly. Make sure they hold what they you think they're supposed to be holding, or know that you need to download certain ones. But make sure you know your mags. Make sure you know they're reliable. And make sure you've got at least 2 or 3 of these things. Some stages have forced reloads and you can't get away with just one. You really need to have at least 2 or 3 mags out there. Your next thing, ammo. You need to go out there with at least some decent ammo. A 5.56 gun like this, you know, I run this IMI Razor Core 77 grain, does well in my gun. Try not to go out there with Tula that you bought at Academy Sports for $4.79 6 years ago. You can, but it's really not going to make for a fun day for you. Try to go out there with at least some decent ammo. That way you can have a good time, especially out at distance. That's going to bring me to my next thing, your optic. For me, I really wanted to have a grid optic from the get-go. Going out there with Granddad's duplex reticle, it's going to kind of be a long day for you. But there's some low-cost options. You have anything from like those Arkin optics, I see 30% off you can find for $200 or $300, all the way up to a zero compromise if you're into spending thousands of dollars. But you don't have to spend that. Just try to get something that's got a grid-style reticle. Also for me, I kind of favor mil. Everybody's out there talking in mil, not MOA. If MOA is your thing, fine, run it. But just for me, if someone's asking me and they're on the fence, I just run mil. That's what everybody's running out there. It's a little bit easier to comprehend, but also the reticle, make sure you understand it when you go out there. Try not to go out there completely blind. Like this particular reticle has numbers off to the side, so if you need to hold 2, you know where to find 2 out in the reticle, and you're not spending half your time out there trying to get, or half your time lost in the reticle. The next thing, you need to have a 0, and not a 0 where I printed a half MOA group, but it's 1 inch high and 2 inches right. That's not a 0 at 100 yards. You need to have a 0 that's a real 0. Otherwise, your ballistic solution app or your dope, it's not going to line up at distance. You're going to be on the struggle bus all day long. So make sure you go out there and you have a real 0. For me, it's 100 yards. It's the most simple thing to do and to understand for me in terms of with the dope I use. Next thing is going to be a bipod of some type. You don't have to have a $400 bipod. I started with this Magpul here I got on sale. It's got some extra doodads on it. You don't really need all this stuff, but you do need something that at least comes off the gun easy. They do make an M-Lock QD style Magpul bipod. There's a lot of others over there out there that aren't a high cost, but make sure in case you get on a stage and the first part of the stage, yep, I need my bipod, but the second part of the stage, it physically will not fit. Okay, you need to be able to ditch it or your stage plan went to shit, right? You went out there and dry ran it, but then in practice it didn't work. You need to be able to pull that bipod off the gun. That brings me to the next thing for shooting stability. There's not always an opportunity to use a bipod. As a matter of fact, there's really not many at all. More opportunities to use something like this, a game changer that can conform to those odd 4x4 posts, cattle gates. You're shooting off car tires, empty bucket, whatever crazy stuff they throw your way. You need something that you can set the rifle on, you can get stable, and you can get that reticle movement down so you can get your hits. And that is a game changer for me. These are 60, 70 bucks, and it's almost a given you're gonna like it and use it a lot. The next thing, and not everybody agrees on this, but I do, you need a notepad, something to write things down with. When you're getting out there and you're new to this and you're trying to remember everything the RO's throwing at you, and maybe there's not a stage briefing written out or emailed, and you're relying solely off of verbal verbals for that course of fire, you need to be able to write that down, especially if it's a little more complex. You need to know which targets to engage, in what order, and what distance they're at. And you need to be able to have that data to go back to your ballistic solution software and get good dope and know where you need to be shooting at. So for me, it's a right in the rain pad. You don't have to even spend this money. This whole thing was like 35 bucks, but hell, you can even go to the dollar store and spend you know, $2 or $3 on a steno book and some pencils there. But make sure you have something that you can jot down the stage brief on. And the last thing is you need something for a shooting solution. And probably the most popular out there is Straylock Pro. It's $15, $16 for the iPhone or for Android. But what you need, you know, if you don't have a chrono, go out there and get some velocities from a borrowed chrono. There's enough of us out there typically where we can get you, loan one out and get you some velocities. You plug in a few things about the projectile, and you can go in there and have a shooting solution at distance, because I know not everybody has a way to shoot out to 600, 700, 800 yards. So you need something to kind of help you get there, and Straylock is a good solution for that. And it's basically, in my opinion, probably one of those things that it's a must. If I had to shrink my list, the Straylock app or a shooting solution software would not come off of it. But other than that, you know, really, it's preference after that. There's one thing that I'm going to say is maybe a really helpful thing to have or not, and that's going to be a data board of some type. You can write your shooting solution on your hand with a marker, but just be mindful, you know, if you're in a funky shooting position, you can't see it, you rubbed it off with sweat, or, you know, it's just, it doesn't work. You need to have something to reference your target and your holdovers. Okay, so for me, when I first started, I literally took a piece of Velcro, I laminated some paper, had the other piece of Velcro, and I just Velcroed it there with a dry erase marker and wrote all my stuff on there and wiped it off with my thumb when I was done. There's a ton of other options out there. Badger Ordnance has some items, and some of the other companies also offer some data board offerings for cheap. But reality, just you need to have something to reference your firing solution for that course of fire. And that's about it, you know. The best thing to do is open up discussion here in the comments, or if you're on Facebook in the threads, and just let us know what you think is your top 5, top 3, top 8, top 10, hell, I don't know, top 20 items to get somebody started with. But appreciate your time, and hopefully you guys found this video useful.